order. And let's see, welcome everyone. My name is Ann Bossler. I am the chair of the City of San Diego Commission. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. All right. What I'm going to do is a quick roll call. If you would, please confirm your attendance. When I call your name, please say present. Commissioner Hughes.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Blevins, Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner DeZenzo.
Present.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Friedman is not here. Commissioner Nawana. Thank you so much. Commissioner Abe Hughes is not with us. Commissioner Kim.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Martin.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Moctezuma is not with us. Commissioner Opsted.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Philpott.
Present.
Okay, thank you so much. And Commissioner Polito could not be with us today. Thank you so much. Your attendance has been noted. Also joining us today are city staff, including our Chief of Civic Strategies, Christine Jones, our Project Manager, Bel Reza, our Senior Public Art Manager, Chuck Miller, Civic Art Project Manager, Dr. Laura Bullock, Senior Arts and Culture Funding Manager, Kip Eischen, and Arts and Culture Project Manager, Gabrielle Romberger. Now, if I could, I would like to call on Commissioner Tyler Hughes to read the Commission for Arts and Culture Statement of Purpose and Vision.
Thank you very much, Chair. And just a reminder to my fellow commissioners, please turn on your microphones when answering because I know Bell is recording. All right, so the vision of the City of San Diego's Commission for Arts and Culture is expanding our world by celebrating creativity in San Diego. Purpose. The City of San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture serves in an advisory capacity to the Mayor and City Council on promoting, encouraging, and increasing support for the region's artistic and cultural assets, integrating arts and culture into community life, and showcasing San Diego as an international tourist destination.
Okay, thank you so much. We are now going to move on to any non-agenda public comment that we might have. The public was invited to submit public comment on both agenda and non-agenda items via a web form accessible through the agenda and the commission's website. Members of the public may also join this meeting in person and as webinar attendees. If members of the public have submitted comments in writing via the web form, staff will read aloud any public comments submitted per city public comment protocol. I will now call on Bell to please read aloud any non-agenda public comment or to call on any attendees who would like to provide such comment.
Thank you, Chair Bosler. We will start with those members of the public who are attending in person. If you haven't done so already, please fill out a speaker's slip. For virtual attendees, please click the button to raise your hand and indicate that you'd like to comment. I will enable you to speak and send you a prompt to unmute yourself in order. When I call your name, please state your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes to provide comment, after which you will be placed on mute again. If you're joining via phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. I will call on you by the last 4 digits of your phone number. When I call on you, press *6 to unmute yourself. Please raise your hand now if you'd like to provide non-agenda public comment. And we'll start with in-person attendees. Cecilia?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Cecilia Kuma. I am the Executive Director of Playwrights Project. And I am embarrassed that I know so few of you. I have not been to these meetings, but I do appreciate all the work you do and that you support so many arts organizations and allow us to fulfill our mission. Ours is to empower those who often don't have their voices heard. So we work teaching playwriting as an opportunity to voice stories from the community. We are doing our 39th season of Plays by Young Writers, professionally produced plays written by children. I brought some postcards. I think the pigeon is especially captivating in this image, and I will share those with you. That's next week at the Joan Kroc Theater at the Salvation Army Center, and that is inviting school groups to come and be inspired by peers writing that is professionally produced and hopefully then voicing their stories through theater. And we also will be returning to San Diego State for our 12th year of working with their students to present plays that have been written in the community. We started with foster care program and expanded into our arts and corrections program. And so we have Beyond Prison Walls opening there in April. And we have that noted here, so I'll send around these 2 postcards. Thank you for making it possible. The organizational support is so important and allows us to be able to have a strong footing to be able to produce programs. And the bulk of our work is in schools and in community centers, prisons, jails, reentry facilities. So it's not always out in the public where people can see it. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to invite you to come to the Plays by Young Writers, which is a public event, and also just to know about the program. And so I thank you. We also were part of the WOW Festival. I saw a beautiful picture of their event. It was the Cell Plays, which was written by residents at Donovan and Centinela Prison and performed with La Jolla Playhouse's support at the Jail Museum in Seaport Village, and was an immersive experience, very intimate. We only had 12 people in the audience per performance. So it sold out within 24 hours and didn't get a lot of press. So I'm telling you how wonderful it was. But hopefully we'll be returning with that again because it was a very powerful experience. So thank you for making it all possible.
I just want to make a comment that I've seen 2 of the performances, of course, you know that, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next ones. And excellent work. And it's amazing of what you all do. And I really appreciate the fact of giving the inmates this opportunity to express themselves and how they continue once they're out and they come back and continue to support the program. So thank you for coming and sharing. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
And Tracy?
Hi, I'm Tracy Harriet. I am a little new to this type of presentation, so thank you for all being here. I'm hoping to get to know some of you better. I am the program director of a children's education company, and we specialize in technology. So we've been going around San Diego doing our program for families, youth, and different communities, and it's been a ton of fun. So I'm also going to lead a flyer up here of all the free classes that are going on, and they're in a number of different areas, and they're going through the library system. So I hope that we can continue to grow these programs. I guess I have a positive story to tell because I recently hosted a class at the Barrio Logan Heights Library in Barrio Logan, and we are supposed to max out at 15, given that I have 15 artists going to change that I have bringing in. And we had over 25 people come, and we had to close the door. So I want to see how I can continue to grow these programs and have all of this family, community, all these beautiful things happening and being made in the textile world, especially since a lot of us know it is one of the biggest pollutants is the textile waste that's happening. So a lot of us are using dead stock or recycled goods and kind of giving that whole new life to a lot of those as well. And I also wanted to share some really cool news that my partner and I are funding right now through a nonprofit that we started. So it's brand new. We are running a youth program for textile arts at the Logan Memorial Education Campus. It's currently free for all the attendees, and our whole goal is to try to find ways to raise some money to keep that program going. Because her and I are trying our best to do it on our own right now. It's a great program, and we will also be having a fashion show in May. So I will try to also keep everybody in touch as to how that's going. And so anyway, it's lovely to meet all of you, and I hope that maybe I can see some of you at some of our upcoming events. So I'll leave my flyers up at front, and it's wonderful to meet all of you.
Thank you. We'll move to virtual attendees. Christine, I'm going to unmute you. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, this is Christine Martinez from Arts and Culture San Diego. I'm just reaching out first with a thank you to many of you who were able to join us for the January 10th EDIR meeting. where they were discussing giving 6.52% of TOT to arts and culture. That has moved forward. So the next step is going to the budget governance and efficiency meeting. That's scheduled for February the 7th between 9 and 10 a.m. We are looking for people to join us, any advocates, certainly any of the commissioners and any of the fine folks who made public comment today. I would love to have you join me. This is something where we need a little bit smaller presence, but as we get into the budget meetings of the true budget season, we will need far more advocates to join us. But it is an encouraging step in the right direction. We did get an update to the budget priority memos from the council members yesterday, and they all unanimously support having arts and culture funding increased at varying levels from different folks. So it'll be really interesting to see how that shakes out. And I know that our presence at these meetings makes a big difference. So I will be emailing many of you about February 7th. In addition to that, we are going to have a budget kickoff meeting. If you've joined us last year at the NAT, it'll be a similar event. It's going to be at the NAT on March 8th, 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. where we'll be talking about our strategy. We also will have several city council members there in attendance speaking to talk about arts and culture and their priorities for us. And that will be a great event that will be available to all of you as well. So look for that invitation. And I just wanted to thank you all for your continued support, and I look forward to coming into one of these meetings in person very soon. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, Sarah, I'm going to mute you. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Sarah Anderson. I'm one of the co-founders of San Diego Made and the San Diego Made Factory. Can you hear me okay? Let's see.
Yes, we can, Sarah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I got a little message. Anyways, I just wanted to, I'm sure everybody is aware of what happened with the storms and everything, but I'm just trying to kind of spread the message of what happened. So many, artists and community members were pretty deeply affected by the storms. Myself and the San Diego Made Factory was totally full of water. We had about 4 inches of water throughout our entire 8,000 square foot warehouse. The folks that are in the lower basement of our building had about 5 feet of water. They're an AV company, pretty much lost everything that they have. So there's so many businesses that are really, really deeply affected by what happened on Monday. And we're just trying to take it day by day. But I just really wanted to spread the word. I was trying to be there in person, but we have artist studios in our warehouse. We have over 20 that are, individually rented. Everybody's, livelihood got wet with this water. And so, yeah, if there's anything in the works for any assistance for artists that were affected by this, I know like the Promise Zone has been just rocked by it. We're one of the impact grant recipients, which we're extremely grateful for, but I know there's other recipients too that were just totally rocked by this. And so I just want to make sure that, everybody has awareness around this and how many artists are struggling right now. We're doing everything that we can and fundraising and whatnot. But it's definitely been one of the craziest, most unfortunate weeks of my life. And yeah, I just wanted to say that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and Arturo?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Arturo Benitez.
Mic
I'm a
on?
local actor.
Is your mic on?
Yeah. Check one, two.
Okay.
Not used to using the mic. My name is Arturo Benitez. I'm a local actor. Recently I've been working with the Playwrights Project here in San Diego. We not only work on projects from local actors, but we currently are working with residents at Senator and at several yards, working with them, critiquing and creative writing. The Playwrights Project has an ongoing project in the South Place, which we take plays and basically we as professional actors go into the facility and actually read the residents' projects, their plays. When they see it from the perspective of the professional actor coming in, it gives them value, it gives them work, it gives them a platform, an opportunity to express it in a positive way. In the time that I've been working with the Playwrights Project, I gotta say, I've been on film, TV, on stage, I've traveled the world, and this has been one of the more fulfilling, very satisfactory. This is a project that not only that I'm committed to, but I'm dedicated to staying with this project for the future. They still need me, and I appreciate my work, and this is something that I will continue. The impact that it makes not only on the community itself, but on the people, residents that are in the facilities. It gives them a platform of expression, which we probably didn't have or didn't know how to utilize. And all of a sudden now they have this platform, and the impact that it's going to make for the community, for the residents that are coming home, it's something to look forward to. And I hope that this platform here, this audience here will support it. Any support that this place here can give to the Playwrights Project in the future would be much appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Much to everybody. We appreciate the work that you're doing out there in the community. Let's see, now we're going to move on to our first action item. Is there any public comment for this action item, which is the October 27th, 2023 Commission special meeting minutes for the approval?
Please raise your hand now to indicate that you'd like to speak. Seeing none, Chair Boswell.
Thank you so much. So I hope everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes from the October 27th Commission meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes? Commissioner, you will move to approve the minutes. Thank you so much. Do we have a second?
I just want to make a comment.
No comments at this point. We have to follow our. So would anybody like to second? I'll second. Thank you so much. Now we have a motion and we have a second. Would you like to make a comment now?
Yes, I don't remember being absent on December 15th.
This would have been the October 27th.
I'm sorry. It says December.
It is December 15th, but I'll update it for the record.
That's all. Just
Okay.
Oh, that's very important. Okay, thank you. Any other corrections that would need to be made on the minutes before we vote? Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to call your names. If you would, please respond with yea, nay, or abstain. Commissioner Tyler Hughes?
Yay.
Thank you. Commissioner Blevins is not here. Commissioner Robinson? Yay. Thank you. Commissioner DeVenzo? Yay. Thank you so much. Commissioner Dewana? Thank you so much. Commissioner Kim? Yay. Commissioner Martin?
Yay.
Commissioner Ofsted?
Yay.
Commissioner Philpott? Yay. And my vote is yay as well. Thank you so much. Now we are actually going to move to committee reports. And if we could hear any sort of public comment on this before we begin.
Please raise your hand now to indicate that you'd like to speak. Seeing none, Chair Boswell.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and start, if we could please, with the policy and funding committee.
Very much, Chair. Policy and funding met on January 12th, and we discussed the proposed list of
slate of commission advisory panelist candidates to evaluate proposals submitted in response to the fiscal year 2025 OSP, Organizational Support Program, and CCSD Creative Community San Diego application part 2. We approved the list that is before us now, and is there anything you want to add to that? The city released a call for panelist nominations starting this summer and through December. Thank you so much to all of you for helping to solicit qualified panelists to participate. There are 60 pre-qualified panelists on this slate before you today, as well as panelists from the FY 21 year going forward. We'll continue to utilize this list of panelists in the coming years. This includes today to ensure that overall. So we have an academic works, so I will make a motion to approve the list of panelists as presented. There a second? I'll second. So just from the policy and funding team, we had a really robust discussion about these panelists and reviewed them. They're uniformly excellent, and we're very excited that we can now offer stipends out to the panelists for their participation, and these remain virtual, so we're able to bring in specialists from around the country, as well as international participation. So this is a really great list of panelists. We are appreciative of the staff for bringing these people together, really spearheading the professional quality of the reviews that we got.
Any other discussion before the phone question? Yes, Commissioner Sultan. Yes, I just have a comment as I overheard when as an observer at the community meeting. I was just taking a quick glance here. I'm glad to see a number of panelists from San Diego locally. I know that that has been a goal of the commission to seek panelists outside of San Diego, and naturally, as you mentioned, I just want to mention that I do believe that it's important to have a local component and a statewide component in this, in helping to understand that our culture and our activities that we have here. So I'm glad to see that. Thank you, staff. Thank you so much. Any other discussion? Okay. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and call the question. If when I call your name, you please respond with yay, nay, or abstain. Commissioner Tyler Hughes.
Yay.
Commissioner Robinson.
Yay.
Commissioner DeBenzo.
Yay.
Commissioner Luana. Commissioner Kim.
Yay.
Commissioner Martin.
Yay.
Commissioner Offset.
Enthusiastic, yay.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Philpott. Yay. And my vote is a yay as well. Now we are going to move on to the Public Art Committee. And just a friendly reminder to Commissioner Ofsted that before we call the question on the action items, we're going to move on to the conflict of interest. So please, proceed with, do you want to start with your? You can do it now, or do you want to tee up what we're going to do?
Let's go to T. That would be a little more clarity and information.
Yes, please, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bossler. We have two action items for the January 18th public art. The first action item is the temporary mural proposal from the Aja Project Terra Memoria Shinte. Art Committee recommends Executive Director of the City of San Diego Commission on Culture. Terra Memoria, consisting of a mural by artist Shinte for temporary exhibition on Baller Control Alleyway adjacent to the City Heights Park Recreation Center, Performance Annex. I'd like to call on Chuck to provide full review of the proposal and the recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ofsted. Could we go, I think, yeah, so could we go forward to, get one, there we go. Thank you, Commissioner Ofsted. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So the city has received a mural application for a mural from the Honda project. The applicant is proposing a mural by San Diego-based artist Shinpei Takeda. The mural is proposed for a temporary one-year exhibition removal up to 5 years on the surface of the alleyway adjacent to City Heights Park, Recreation Center, Performance Library. Next slide, please. The mural consists of poetry text on the surface of the bollard controlled extension of 44th Street to City Heights Park between Whiteman and Landis Streets. We'll also include an augmented reality component that will allow viewers to access recordings of the spoken poems. City staff evaluated the application utilizing criteria contained in the City of San Diego Commission for Construction, Collection, Management Policy, Art Collection. And in their January meeting, the Public Art Committee evaluated the application utilizing the same criteria and voted to recommend to the Commission that the Executive Director. Those criteria include public safety, cost, excellence, significance, maintenance, security, relationship to site, legal considerations, artist selection process, and community feedback, among others, which are all further detailed in the committee report in your packets. Next slide, please. With that said, I would like to underscore several criteria and note that the applicant would be solely responsible for funding the mural. This includes, but is not limited to, insurance, installation, maintenance, and conservation, de-installation, and site restoration. If the mural is authorized, it will be formalized in temporary artwork maintenance and removal agreement, which we have. Next slide, please. The mural would provide an aesthetic and cultural experience for residents and visitors to City Heights Park, Recreation Center, Performance Annex, and Library, and activate and enhance the area surrounding these amenities. The placement of the mural on the surface of a follower-controlled alleyway heavily used by pedestrians to access the adjacent city amenities, as well as the content of the mural being produced by writing workshops with City Heights residents, serves to balance urbanization and development with humanizing elements. Next slide. Artist Shinpei Takeda has received a California Creative Corps grant from the 18th Street Art Center in support of the project and in recognition of career achievement. If approved, the mural will fulfill these grant obligations. The artist has received letters of support from the Mid-City Community Action Network, the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans, and Council District 9 Council Member Sean Elo Rivera. The content of the mural is being produced in collaboration with City Heights residents by a series of writing workshops. And the Executive Director of the Commission will consider the recommendation from city staff, the Public Art Committee, the Commission, and any other pertinent stakeholders before making the final decision on whether to authorize the proposed mural. Next slide, please. So the recommendation today is to recommend that the Executive Director of the City of San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture approve the mural titled Terra Memoria, consisting of a mural by artist Shinpei Takeda for temporary exhibit on the controlled alleyway adjacent to City Heights Park, Recreation Center, Performance Annex, and Library. I'm happy to answer any questions. And then I'm not sure if we did the conflict disclosures. Okay.
Hi, just out of curiosity, you said that this is a removal of up to 5 years. Do they have to come back every year and ask for permission to keep it?
In basically the maintenance and removal agreement will be for an annual period, and at the end of that period, we will review and make sure that the mural is being maintained, so on and so forth, and that if it's in good standing, that it's possible that we could renew that agreement by an amendment at that time.
Okay, that doesn't have to come back before our board or our.
No.
Any other questions before we go through the conflict? Yes, Commissioner Robinson, yes.
I know when we first, were able to review the proposal, we weren't, privy to the actual poem. When does that take place, that we actually know the actual poems that will be on the sidewalk?
The writing workshops began this past October and they extend through this March. So the content is still currently under development and is of course subject to city approval for anything is installed.
At this point, let's go ahead and do the conflict of interest disclosures, and then we'll have a motion and a second, and then any further discussion the folks would like to have before we vote. So regarding the conflict of interest disclosures, the recommendation affects contracts with Sadie Ravens Architects, structural engineer T.Y. Lin, contractor UEG Projects, and artist Hall Hoffey. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. Please assess whether you have any conflicts to disclose when I call your name. If you have no conflicts, please state no conflicts. If you do have a conflict, we will ask that you recuse yourself from the discussion and the voting on this particular item. Does everybody understand that? Okay.
My apologies, Commissioner Vossler, it was the previous, it would be with the Aja project. Sorry. for the transition.
Oh, I see. It's flipped within the, okay. So take two. The recommendation affects contracts with the Aja project. Artist Shinpei Takeda. Please assess whether you have any conflicts to disclose. When I call your name, if you have no conflicts, please say no conflicts. If you have a conflict, we will ask that you please recuse yourself from the discussion and voting on the action. Commissioner Kyle Hughes.
No conflict.
Commissioner Robinson.
No conflict.
Commissioner DeZenzo.
No conflict.
Commissioner Luana. Commissioner Kim.
No conflict.
Commissioner Martin.
No conflict.
Commissioner Ofsted.
No conflict.
Commissioner Philpott. No conflict. And I too have no conflict. We have a motion to approve this item.
Second.
Terrific. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion before we vote?
Just to clarify, Chuck, are we both talking about, with basically 44th Street? That the alleyway that we're talking about?
Yes, there's an extension of 44th Street through, between Whiteman and Landis. That is actually city property, that is administered by the Parks and Recreation Department, and it's bollard controlled, so it is closed to regular traffic.
Kind of a walkway between the Rosa Parks playground, which is also part of the property, and then the city has a square. Any other discussion? Yes, Commissioner Domingo?
Yeah, this is, we haven't seen a lot of citizen initiated art projects, and I'm really excited about this. If anybody is out there listening, or if you have an idea for a citizen initiated art project, I really, really hope that you do it and get the backing to do this. And, it really reflects the neighborhoods, it really reflects the community, it contributes to our art and culture of the city of San Diego, and, it's something that can be changed also. So it's not set in stone and permanent forever and ever, something that everybody lives with forever and ever. It's poignant, it's temporal, it's always really interesting. So that's fine. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, terrific. Any further discussion? Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and call the question. When I call your name, please respond out loud with yay, nay, or abstain. Commissioner Tyler Hughes.
Yay.
Commissioner Robinson.
Yay.
Commissioner DeZenzo.
Yay.
Commissioner Luana.
Yay.
Commissioner Kim.
Yay.
Commissioner Martin.
Yay.
Commissioner Ofsted.
Yay.
Commissioner Philpott. Yay. And my vote too is a yay. So next up, we are going to have the Harbor Bridge Butterfly, right?
Correct.
Would you like to go ahead and tee it up before we do the conflict of interest?
Sure, I'll defer to Commissioner Ofsted.
Is there a second? Sorry. Thank you, John. So our second action item is the temporary exhibit proposal for the Safety Rabinas Architects Harbor Bridge Butterfly by Tal Safety. The Public Art Committee recommends that the Executive Director of the City of San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture approve the temporary exhibit titled Harbor Bridge Butterfly, consisting of an installation by artist Tal Safety for temporary exhibition installed on the Harbor Drive pedestrian bridge. Like Colin Chuck provide an overview of the proposal and
Thank you, Commissioner Ofsted. So city staff has received a temporary exhibit application from Safety Rabinas Architects. The applicant is proposing an artwork by San Diego artist and Safety Rabinas founding partner Tal Safety. The artwork is proposed for a temporary 5-year exhibition on the suspension cables of the Harbor Drive pedestrian bridge. The artwork will consist of a suspended mesh system of colored cells that compose butterfly wings, flanking the suspension spire of the Harbor Drive pedestrian bridge. City staff evaluated the application utilizing criteria contained in the City of San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture, Art Construction, Collection Management Policy for the Civic Art Collection. In their January meeting, the Public Art Committee evaluated the application utilizing the same criteria and voted to recommend. Those criteria include public safety, cost excellence, significance, maintenance, security, relationship to site, legal considerations, artist selection process, and community feedback, among others, which are all further detailed in the community reports and board packets. Next slide, please. Underscoring, however, that the applicant would be solely responsible for funding the exhibit. This includes, but is not limited to, insurance, installation, maintenance, and conservation, installation, and site restoration. If the exhibit is authorized, it will be formalized in an encroachment, maintenance, and removal agreement between the applicant and the city. Next slide, please. The artwork would provide an aesthetic and cultural experience for residents and visitors to the East Village, the Marina District, Echo Park, and the Convention Center, and activate and enhance the surrounding areas. The placement of the artwork on the suspension cables of the heavily used pedestrian bridge, visible from both the bridge and Harbor Drive below, serves to balance urbanization and development of humanizing components. Next slide, please. The exhibit is part of the larger Bay to Park Paseo initiative, to which the applicant has identified the Port of San Diego as a sponsor and is endorsed by the 2024 World Design Capital. The executive director of the commission will consider the recommendation from city staff, the Public Art Committee, commission, and any other pertinent stakeholders for making the final decision on whether to authorize this exhibit. Next slide, please. So the recommendation is that the executive director of the City of San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture approve the temporary exhibit titled Harbor Bridge Butterfly, consisting of an installation by artist Tal Safety for temporary exhibition installed on the Harbor Drive pedestrian bridge. To answer any questions.
I noticed that on the previous one, it was like a year and then 5 years extension or something. You don't mention a year on here. Is there a reason? Is it just too complicated to put up for a year and they automatically just went for 5 years?
Yes, staff has determined that this installation is quite involved and costly. Therefore, to approve a 5-year encroachment agreement, maintenance and removal at the outset.
At this point, we're going to do the conflict of interest disclosure. And we're going to have a motion in a second and we'll go back to discussion, okay? So this is one I read before. If there's a member or don't communicate again? Okay. Commissioner Kyrie's,
No conflict.
Commissioner Robinson,
No conflict.
Commissioner Zenzo,
No conflict.
Commissioner Noah, no conflict. Commissioner Kim,
No conflict.
Commissioner Martin,
No conflict.
Commissioner Ofsted,
No conflict.
Commissioner Philpott, no conflict. And I have no conflict as well. So So now, would anybody like to make a motion, please, to approve the temporary exhibit proposal from the city Raymond Architects Harbor Bridge Butterfly?
Okay.
Not everybody at once, please. Super.
I'd like to move to approve the Harbor Bridge Butterfly.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any discussion?
One, sort of the timing, says it's, up to the applicant, but because it's tied into WDC, is there a belief that it will be up in 24? And is there a belief that maybe it'll be up by July of 24? This is one of the most photographed bridges in the world, even vertically, come July. And it would be a lovely element to have in the background for so many photographs.
Yeah, so I believe that the intention is to install it as soon as it can be, the encroachment agreement can be accomplished. I can't comment as to the precise time. But it's July.
I look forward to seeing it when we go to the 100 meetings.
Now we'll go ahead and call the question. When I call your name, please respond out loud with yea, nay, or abstain. Commissioner Tyler Hughes,
Yay.
Commissioner Robinson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Fazenda,
Yay.
Commissioner Nawala, Commissioner Kim,
Yay.
Commissioner Martin,
Yay.
Commissioner Ofsted,
Yay.
Commissioner Philpott, yay. And I'm a yay as well. Terrific, wonderful projects. All right, now we're going to move to an update from advocacy and outreach, please, with Commissioner Philpott. Great, thank you so much. The advocacy committee met on January 12th here at City Hall. We continue to look at the legislative statement that we have drafted that indicates there are talking points that we can use when we're talking to the community who are advocating for us. We're about to hear a great presentation here from Joanne Cohen that also has some very good economic impact data that we can include with these talking points as well. As Christine Martinez mentioned in the public comment period, the Council Economic Development and Intergovernmental Relations, the EDIR committee, met on Wednesday, the 10th of January. There were several commissioners in attendance, myself and Commissioner Montezuma. I don't think anyone else, and staff, of course, presented as well. At that committee meeting, motion was moved forward unanimously as proposed by Councilmember Campillo to build in an increased arts funding in the 2025 city budget to 6.5% of the total transient occupancy tax revenue. And we're going to have a presentation, I believe, at the February meeting on the things with arts. So we can understand when we're working on our talking points exactly how to communicate that and what that means. But in the meantime, you can get the link. I can give that to Belle to make sure she has it and can send it out to everyone. I have 2 copies of it myself right here today. If anybody wants the report from that hearing on the recommendations on the discretionary portion of transient occupancy tax. And that brings me to the most important thing, is that it's time for us to be meeting and talking with our council members as the first step. I believe that staff is going to be helping to set up these meetings. We would really like, if it's possible, and if it works with your schedule, for the commissioner to be present in a meeting with a council member. We will have some options on how to do that, and we were trying to make those virtual Zoom meetings if possible. And we'll work on talking points. I don't want to steal the thunder again from Mr. Cohen, but he has some very important points on advocacy. And I'm not even going to accurately repeat it right now, but what is the message? Who's getting the message and who's delivering the message? I got that down, see, and he said we got to say it over and over and over again. So we're going to have the message. We need you all to help also deliver the message to our city council members in this particular instance. And we can pull in an arts organization from your community that's been funded or either wants to be funded as part of the process, that will be even more powerful. So look for that information coming up soon. This is something that we're hoping to work on between February and early March. As you know, the budget process goes on for a while, and we're talking about the 2025 budget. There's also a couple of other things. I don't know, Christine, maybe or Jonathan is going to give me, Jonathan's not here, executive director's report, but the San Diego Regional Arts Code Committee, SDRAC, which they're changing the name, are providing an advocacy training program and stipend. And hopefully we'll get some more information about that. That's starting soon for community artists to get some training and background on how to advocate for support for the arts. And April will be the California Arts and Culture Month in the state of California, and there will be a meeting in Sacramento for a couple of days. So we're starting with our city council members, and we should all get comfortable with that, because the next step is the members of the legislature, the governor, and then the next step is the next level. So, stay tuned. Terrific. Thank you so much. Looking forward to those reviews. At this point, does anybody have an update with respect to the Commissioner Engagement Ad Hoc Committee? I know Commissioner Friedman's not here with us. Anything further on that?
Working on it.
I have a question. Yeah, I just gonna ask about that question about the Symphony Hall. I know there's still a process of examining the hall, but I'm interested whenever that is around. But I think they want to make sure it's in the state for everybody to go through.
I've already put the request in, so I'll update everyone after this meeting.
Thanks so much, everybody. At this point, we're going to have a couple of wonderful presentations, and we're going to start with Randy Cohen, if we could. A little background. Randy is the Vice President for Research at American Creative Arts. Randy has been with AFTA for more than 30 years, where he has led research and policy work over many areas, including arts education. Randy conceptualized and authored the Benchmark Arts and Economic Impact Study, referred to as AEP. Now in its 6th iteration, some of you were able to attend the event at the San Diego Museum of Photographic Arts, where we heard the first ever countywide findings. And today we're going to hear more details on the city's findings. We're very happy, Randy, to have you with us. And I just want to say at the outset, the Commissioner engagement at that event yesterday at the Museum of Photographic Arts was phenomenal. Commissioner Polito was featured in the video, which was really great to see. Commissioner A.Q. moderated the panel. Commissioner Kim was there as well, helping to moderate the overall event, which was very nice to handle, lots of good information. So Randy, we look forward to your presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. That was an excellent event yesterday. Travel across the country. I do a lot of the events. I thought the engagement was fabulous. Whole environment planning, and the fact it was a whole regional effort, not just solely a city effort, I thought was particularly noteworthy. So we got a good story to talk about today. You know, we've been hearing about all these wonderful aspects of the arts and the Writers Project and public art, and but we're going to change the conversation a little bit on this one. Is think about the arts differently. As an industry, it supports jobs, that generates government revenue. And the fact is, arts organizations are businesses. They employ people locally, they purchase goods and services from other businesses in the community. Arts organizations are good business citizens. And we don't think about the arts that way. It's not an intuitive way to think of the arts. When we go out to an arts event, people appreciate them. For the wonderful community amenities that they are, and they absolutely are. But when we go to an arts event, how often do we find, well, first we pay for parking, and then maybe we have a meal, and then go out afterwards with drinks, and we got little ones that double the cost of living on babysitting, right? So lots of economic activity related to the arts. And so we're going to capture in this study, we have captured spending by the arts organizations as well as event-related spending by arts and culture audiences. Yesterday we talked about mostly about county. It's also San Diego. That's what we talked about. Arts and Economic Prosperity is a national economic and social impact study of the nonprofit arts and culture industry. And a couple things about that. When you say nonprofits, because there's this very much Washington D.C.
Yes, nonprofit arts and cultural organizations, but we're also including in the study, it might be municipally owned arts centers or a state museum. Many of our libraries have great arts programs. In a lot of neighborhoods, a social service organization, a fraternal organization, maybe that's where the community is connecting with the artists. That's what we're looking at in this study. Why do we focus just on that nonprofit sector? Well, typically, in this group and, Madam Chair, Commissioners, when we're supporting arts and culture, that's where those dollars would typically go, to those nonprofit arts and culture organizations. And it's an appropriate question to ask, right? Well, what's the public's ROI on that investment? Everybody will acknowledge cultural benefits, but now we can also talk about economic benefits. We take a very conservative approach to this study. There's a lot of, every industry has, part out there, and this makes sure the artists do. But to make sure this is as reliable a study as possible, we surveyed the arts and cultural organizations. We did audience intercept surveys across the community, and we surveyed over 200 arts and cultural organizations. We heard back from 89 of them. That's what we go with. We only use data from the organizations that provide this study. So what did we find out? There we go. Okay, so it's a national study with 373 study regions across the country in all 50 states. Really catch that. There we go. We're in all 50 states plus Puerto Rico. We study communities as small as 4,000, as large as 4 million, because even in our small rural communities, the arts are happening there. There's economic impact happening there as well. We know you're going to be out and, talking to your community leaders, to your constituents. We want to make sure you feel confident and credible about these data. We work with a team of economists. We use an in-plan platform to customize input-output analysis models for every community that we study. And why we do that is because $50 spent in San Diego is going to have a different economic impact than if you spend in LA or Fresno or Phoenix or anywhere else. All these models are very localized right for your community. All right, so what did we find out? Surveying the organizations, surveying attendees, total economic activity for San Diego in 2022, $1.2 billion. I mean, we have crossed the billion threshold. This is a lot of economic activity. And you can see that figure is composed of two numbers. First is spending by the organizations themselves. That's just the 89 responding organizations, $658 million in organizational spending. And that's a myth buster. We all appreciate the arts, right? But the fact is, they're businesses, they employ people locally, they purchase goods and services from other businesses in the community, they're members of the Chamber of Commerce, they help drive tourism. Arts organizations are good business citizens, and that right there is a story we can tell. Yeah, every business has an economic impact. Arts organizations, the dog catcher's office, the gas station, I can give you a $5 bill, my economist will chase you around, see what you do with it, measure the economic impact. But few industries generate the kind of event-related spending that the arts do. You can't just think about last time you saw a performance or an exhibition. Probably made an event. Just those 89 responding organizations had 16.3 million attendees in San Diego. Tons of engagement, tons of participation by the community. You add all that up, that's $528 million in audience spending. So we're over $500 million in spending on local businesses just by the attendees. All right, $1.2 billion in economic activity. What's the economic impact of that? Well, the first thing we look at is jobs. Ask most legislators what their three priorities are, they'll tell you. Jobs, jobs, and jobs. So we're going to connect our cultural product to their priority. City of San Diego, 16,900 jobs supported across the community. I hate those perfectly round numbers. It's not 16,901, it's 16,900 even. So, so that's not a rounding, that is a jobs figure. Something about arts jobs. Arts organizations
They employ more than performers and musicians and curators. Arts and culture organizations also employ accountants and auditors, electricians and plumbers, security staff, marketing people, box office people. Arts organizations employ people in a range of industries across the community. So these are community-wide jobs. And remember all that event-related spending? You know, the hospitality. So you've got people in the lodging industry, restaurants, parking. Those are jobs supported as well. Another thing about these arts jobs, these aren't necessarily local jobs. These are not the kind of jobs that are going to be offshore. We're not going to be happy if we go to a performance and it's a bunch of computers on the stage, right? We need somebody to curate and hang the art in our organizations. So local jobs, bottom line, arts, not just food for the soul, putting food on the table, 16,900 households right here in the city. What else do we look at? Government revenue. Local, state, and federal government revenue, $276 million as a result of that nonprofit arts industry expenditures. And, you know, sometimes people think like, well, yeah, you know, support the arts when we can, but it's a one-way ticket, right? Those dollars go to the arts and then they just disappear down some black hole of goodness. Not so. It is an industry that gives back to the community. I can tell you at the local, the state, the federal levels, the return is always bigger than the investment. So the arts, small investments, big returns. Okay, so this really starts to get interesting when you look at the event-related spending by arts audiences. So we surveyed, and working with the commission and the local arts community, over 1,500 attendees at a whole range of arts events. So performances, exhibitions, free open-air festivals. We didn't just go to the most expensive events and survey everybody there. This is a representative sample of attendees in the city. The typical attendee spends $34.94 per person per event, not including cost of admission. $34.94. And you can see how the dollars break down there, you know, those ratios are pretty typical, about half on food and local transportation and, you know, parking and then, you know, gas. Seems like you're looking at lodging, you know, you still get a room here for $4.82. What is that going to do to our hotel dollar? No, this is just a so $34.94. Some people ask, why don't we include the cost of admission? That's obviously a huge part of the activity as well. The reason for that is those dollars are already going to the arts organizations, and they are in turn expending those back into the community. So it helps us avoid counting them twice. Right? So admissions are counted as an expenditure by organizations. In addition to how much you spend related to this arts event, we also ask everybody for this, because we want to find out, do you live in San Diego County, which would make you local, or are you from outside the county? 15% of attendees came from outside San Diego County. So they had to travel a ways to get here. This is a huge county. Do they spend differently? Yeah, you bet they do. Look at that on the right. $66.77 per person per event, not including the cost of admission. And that's where you see some lodging. In fact, 15% of attendees have a 15% are from outside the county. 19% of those, so about 1 in 5, have a lodging cost. They average $201 per person. Right? So you get that head of event, you know, that's when the cash register really start moving. We asked folks one more question, and that was, we're glad you're here. Thank you for coming. You're on business, you're visiting friends and family. 36%, so more than a third said we came specifically for this arts. So you can really see the pulling power that the arts have. And so, you know, what this tells us is that when we invest in the arts, we're investing in a product which draws people to the community, and they're spending money. If you're a local business, if you're a local merchant, a restaurateur, and the like, you love this vibrant arts community. You know, it's 16.3 million people in 2022 frequenting all our local businesses. But heads in beds, G's in seats,
Chairs and cafe chairs, so it's good for business. All right, in addition to how much did you spend, because let's face it, you might, it's Friday, right? And you've been thinking about what's an arts event that we're gonna go to tonight. You know, looking at the options, you're probably not thinking like, let's see which one has the best. Or probably going for some other reasons, to be inspired, to be culturally enriched. So we asked for the first time in this study about 4 social impact questions. And all the attendees responded, and all these figures are in the 80s percentile, and actually slightly larger than the national averages. But what we found is that attendees to arts events here say arts and culture is a source of pride and neighborhood identity for this community. 88%, 84%, feel a sense of loss. 87% feel a sense of loss if this arts event were no longer available. And I think the last one, 84%, is one of the most interesting ones. It's important to me that this arts and culture experience, this venue, be available to future generations. That to me says arts and culture is not just a one-time transactional experience, but it's part of our culture, our history, our heritage. It's about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. So some really powerful numbers there. One of the things that we also did differently in Arts and Economic Prosperity 6 is we really focused on centering equity and inclusion across the study. This is the most inclusive study that we've done. And we worked with our local partners. We expanded the definition from economic impact of the arts and culture. We focused on identifying BIPOC arts and culture organizations and including organizations serving communities of color. And so of the 1,548 attendees, that's the left column, 368 of those audience surveys took place at these BIPOC arts organizations. And what you see, is the numbers are actually only fractionally different. Very little difference there. And similarly, there's only a couple dollars difference with the audience spending. It's sort of on the food line there, a little hard to see, but everything I'm talking about is in the 58-page report, which will be available on the site. Nationally, and what we see, across the State Arts Agency, in a lot of communities, arts organizations of color are not competing well in both. We did a big study of local arts agencies, local arts agencies before the pandemic. 550 local arts agencies. Look at all these brands, thousands of brands. Organizations, the 16% largest organizations by budget, are basically pulling in about 75% of the dollars. California Arts Council, like I said, just found some similar results with their grants. We find this with foundations. This is a finding where we remember that research, is at the end of the conversation, it's the beginning of the conversation, and we need to ask ourselves: Are our organizations serving community of color being capitalized, properly, and receiving equitable opportunities? Another thing we looked at in this one, volunteerism. I love this. This just demonstrates the importance of volunteers. Just the 89 responding organizations, 10,696 volunteers at those organizations that contribute over 290,000 hours. And you can actually put a dollar figure on that. The independent sector tracks the average volunteer hour at $37.32 in California. You do the math. That volunteer time has a value of $10.8 million. Now, that's not part of the $1.2 billion, because we've actually got dollars changing hands here. But again, demonstrating the number of people who volunteer for arts organizations in the community and the value of that volunteers. A little bit about some of the international partners on this study. So I'm in Washington, D.C., the land of national organizations. So many national organizations in Washington. There's actually a national organization. But we can make this work for you because you'll see organizations like in the lower left, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, or the National Association of Counties, International City County Management Association.
Our next city, elected and appointed government leaders, they've all got national organizations. If you're in the business community, you pay attention what the conference board does. The tourism folks get together with Destinations International. These organizations, you'll find them all listed on the back of your report, are partners on your study because they too believe arts, culture, fundamental component of a healthy community, and two, they find the methodology, they find the results. So when you're talking about this with our community leaders, you remind them, look, your national organization is on board with this. Not just okay. Now, as advocates, it was great to follow the advocacy conversation. There's another economic impact study that gets reported on annually. I want to contrast the two because many of you may be familiar with it. Arts and Economic Prosperity was to focus on nonprofit arts and culture organizations and their audiences, right? It didn't include commercial galleries, architecture firms, Hollywood motion pictures. But the Bureau of Economic Analysis actually has widened the lens to include all of that economic activity in the arts. Creative economy, right? And it's such an important aspect of the work here in the community. Nationally, according to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, arts and culture in this country, all of it, a $1.02 trillion industry. Crossed the trillion mark for the first time in 2021. Now, what's great is they're actually drilling down to a state level. So we can see here, right here in California, arts and culture, all of it, nonprofit and everything else, $261 billion industry. That is 7.7% of the state's economy, supports 742,000 jobs. Arts and culture, a bigger industry in this state, construction, transportation, agriculture. So anytime we're talking about this in the arts and somebody says, oh, boy, you know, we love to fund the arts, but we got to focus on business and everything, arts part industry. The research also shows a growth in arts jobs has a causal relationship with growth in all employment across regions and states. So increase arts jobs, increase all employment. Remember the priority on jobs. So we've got two studies there to work with. And then just as another piece, and you'll find more of these in your report. This is a little closer maybe to why some of us, are so involved in the arts. Our public opinion study shows 72% of the American public says the arts create opportunities for shared experiences in the community with people of different races, ethnicities, faith, ages. Similar percentage when discussing important issues in the community, arts and culture provide safe spaces for that to happen. 63% of the population says the arts help me understand the language cultures. So we're not going to talk about all these other community benefits too much, but the arts do so much right here in our community. Lastly, I'll just, with a moment of inspiration and taking action. What you're looking at here is a picture from Paris, 1913. And here's what you do. This is where the Mona Lisa came. It was stolen. It took him 2 years to get. You know what? In the 2 years, the Mona Lisa was missing. More people to see it. Saw the painting itself in the freezer. It's 14 years. It's so easy to take arts and culture for granted, for everybody to assume it's always going to be there, but we need to be relentless messengers under the arts. This is individual, to our communities, to our well-being, to our health, and yes, to our economy. The arts aren't just nice, they're necessary. Thank you for all the work and the leadership that you do.
Presentation. Are you willing to spend a few minutes for questions?
Absolutely.
Any questions? Yes, please, Commissioner Philpott. Thank you. So this is going to be on there's a link to this, to the 36 things report?
Yeah, it should be on the city. Yeah, and it may not be yet because we just sort of released actually.
Okay.
But it will be coming. Posted on there.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Yes, Yes, first of all, would you happen to have a median wage handy for those 16,980? I'm sure it's buried in the reports, like the gas and out, something I'd like to.
Yeah, I do, and, remember though, it's also, a whole range of industries too, not just the, payroll, or the amount per person, but, we don't.
Two other quick things. One, my brain also kind of latched on to the disparity between 16% of organizations receiving 75% of the overall funding. What are some strategies and tactics you've seen in other communities nationally to begin to redirect those resources, and specifically so Black and brown organizations can compete in a different space? Because a lot of folks aren't necessarily sure how to leverage this data and tell these stories and see the impact.
Also, as we see, what some communities have done, they, number one, try to lower the barriers for application and, access to the dollars, multiple languages. I know a lot of these are strategies, that are being used here, especially with language. Opening up the conversation and making it more inclusive conversation. I hope people understand, the breadth of arts and culture, what's in that. Definitely, inclusiveness in the process, and lowering barriers are a couple of things for sure. It's it can be challenging too. Sometimes, so some companies that are directing their hotel dollars to is a pot of money, and everyone's got to justify how they're tourism in the community. Is that conversation?
Commissioner Robinson, do you have a comment?
I didn't want to thank Commissioner Martin for making that comment. I think that's pretty much where we've been is working on being more inclusive with the funds. So thanks for bringing that up. But there was something that you also left out of your presentation with that very last line about the story on these numbers. And so I just want us as a commission to focus on our organizations and their story so that when we can imagine with these numbers. Because one thing you saw when it was the BIPOC community over the overall, the difference wasn't that much. The attitude wasn't that different. And so it's definitely beneficial to invest in BIPOC organizations. Thank you.
If I may, the line that I used yesterday was the golden rule of advocacy: no numbers without a story, no stories without it. Arts were full of stories that our lives have been transformed. A young person, or how we went to an arts event and spent $34.94, or as an arts organization, we employ a range of industries across the community, and then pair those with a dollar figure or statistic, and then that.
Question, Commissioner Brenda?
Yeah, briefly, you had mentioned that you took the over 1,500 respondents and you got their zip codes, correct?
Yes.
Is there a map of where those zip codes and respondents are living within the city of San Diego?
No, we did basically in county, around county. So that was the.
Yeah, I was just thinking that if we could see a map of where those people are located, that could actually give us an indicator of where we need to put more art and more culture. Because if we don't have people engaged in even answering a simple survey like this, it's probably because they aren't engaged with the art at all, which means that there might not be any art activity in their neighborhoods or in their areas. So it might be helpful to look at that.
Your commission, the staff did a really good job reaching out to much more expansively than we have in the past. We created a whole bunch of tools to help arts agencies identify and expand the universe of arts and cultural organizations. So there's a much larger, everybody's universe expanded, and then we also created tools on how to approach those organizations and start to build relationships. And you know, some of that was already going, some of it, you know, is happening, and, you know, in other cases, it's, or heading towards a step down the road. We translated the surveys into 24 languages. So definitely more, that work is ongoing, but, actually, not to be really.
Last question before we go on to the next presentation. Commissioner Beard?
Randy, thank you very much for being here. This is, favorite studies to do. And this is, two things. One is a question for you, and one is a comment. Just to contextualize for my fellow commissioners, in terms of employers in the city of San Diego, Arts and Culture employs more people than San Diego Unified, employs more people than Scripps, employs more people than the city of San Diego, Qualcomm, and San Diego Community College District, and we're within spitting distance of short healthcare as well as yours, and the county of San Diego. So just in terms of context, we're a big employer. Randy, do you have a breakdown of, for every dollar invested by the city, what's the ROI in terms of economic impact? So if I put $1 of city tax money into the arts and culture ecosystem that flows through, what's the X, how many X are we getting from each dollar we put in? Is it a 3X, 5X return? What's our yield, basically?
I actually didn't look at the data specifically to that. We sat down and looked at all the city's art support and all the ways that it supports the arts. That's, you know, that becomes pretty easy to vision, but that's something, you know, thank you.
Thank you so much, Randy. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you. That's good to be on.
Okay. Next, I'm going to ask Executive Director Bless to please introduce our last presentation today.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Excuse me, I am delighted to reintroduce, invite back David Butler Saunders. You know that David is the project lead on behalf of Cultural Planning Group, who are the firm that's conducting our cultural planning process. Contractually, CPG is obligated to a mid-project report to you all. So David is here today to give you essentially an overview of the findings of the last 6 months during engagement and some early high-level recommendations towards what.
Thank you. Great to see you all again. Quick logistic question. Did you want to advance the slides?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do the verbal command. So we finished the engagement and research phase, as Jonathan just said. But we've not yet started drafting the plan itself. So this is our interim report, keeping you updated. We're presenting highlights of a small mountain of findings and data. So our presentation lasts about 25 minutes. So for today's presentation, we'll first recap the planning process. This will be a quick summary of what we presented to you last May at the start of Creative City. Then we'll summarize the key points of what we heard and learned from the public engagement and research. We'll share preliminary implications and initial sense of what the plan should focus on. And we'll end with next steps in the process, how the plan will be developed and then reviewed and adopted later this year. We've also included a few video clips to give a flavor of the engagement. So we'll start, next slide please, with an excerpt from the Creative City Forum last June.
San Diego super unique is the mixture of cultures that are found here, music, of art, and it's why I love to be a part of this community.
So
We started with formal goals for planning. We talked about this last May. First, what's the current state of affairs for art and culture? You know, what are the strengths? What are we building on? Second, what do we want it to become? What's the community's vision for art and culture? Third, how do we ensure greater access to arts and culture for all San Diegans? And then how do we get there? We find that often there are great ideas already present in the community that simply haven't gotten traction and opportunity to take them. And lastly, it's important to align city investments in arts and culture with the city's goals and priorities. So this means asking how arts and culture can support city priorities for affordable housing, safe public spaces, economic growth, livable communities, and mobility. Next slide, please. As you know, Creative City will be San Diego's first cultural plan. So why cultural plan and why now? Master planning is a good idea in city government in and of itself. The city's recently completed master plans for libraries and parks. And for arts and culture, this is an opportunity to take a comprehensive view and ask the community what it wants the cultural life of the city to be. Also, our creative sector is robust and wonderful in many ways, but it's also facing specific and difficult challenges. We'll talk about these in the presentation today. The cultural planning allows us to rise to these challenges and to aspire to greater creative vitality as a city. Here's another clip from an interview at the Creative City.
Focus on the people in the community, and that's where you'll get what this project is going to evolve to. And you're going to see something delicious, beautiful, edgy. You're going to see us thrive. That's what you're going to see.
Here's our timeline, 2 years in total. You can't rush a good thing. We started in fall 2022 preparing for a comprehensive planning effort and conducting initial research. We spent June through October of last year doing public engagement, as you know. And last fall, we compiled and reflected on what we had learned. We will begin outlining a draft plan in March and work with city staff to commission the public and city council to review and hone the draft plan. We expect to present the draft plan to the public in August and September. The final step will be city council adoption at the end of 2024. This represents speeding up of the process, by the way, by a number of months, simply because we can move more quickly now, and we want to align with the city's budget timeline. Let's talk now about our listen and engage phase. The public engagement was last summer and fall in the city. This photo is from an open community meeting at the San Ysidro Library last summer. Here's another video interview clip from the Creative City.
One of the points that I think is critical is equity. That was mentioned by the mayor. I appreciated he said that, because I think we've embarked on many plans in the past in cities, and the process sometimes becomes the project instead of the outcome and the actual thing we're trying to achieve, which in my eyes is access, equity, inclusion, and social justice at the end of the day.
Next slide, please. So engagement for Creative City was grounded in the city's equity commitment. And as Kamal's question to Randy Cohen tells us, reminds us, there's a long way to go. We absolutely have to deal with it. But in fact, equity was not only given at the start, it was a consistent message we heard from the community, assuring equitable access to arts and culture for all communities, equity in funding, and addressing existing inequity. Next slide, please. We started by reviewing existing conditions research of urban planners, including reviewing other relevant plans and studies, as well as the city's current arts and culture program. We did a study of city-owned cultural facilities that have been done, and reviewed the new study of San Diego's creative economy. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's now look, though, at the stakeholder and public engagements. About 1,800 people were involved in planning. San Diego was ready for this Creative City process, and we showed up. More than 800 responded to the community survey from 75 zip codes and online. We held more than 70 discussion groups with community leaders. Next slide, please. So who was involved? Participants were San Diego residents, artists, creatives, cultural and community leaders, all from across the city. People from the for-profit creative sector, as well as nonprofits, and also related fields like tourism, philanthropy, human services, and many more. Next slide, please. Well, I believe all of you attended or led engagement sessions at some point last summer. The 70+ events and activities provided multiple touch points and opportunities to participate. The artist-led activities were done by 6 local artists, which has made Creative City an unusually creative planning process. And here is San Diego artist Katie Ruiz on her vision for art in the city.
You know, as much cement as we can cover with color and paint and different types of artwork, public art, and just really making our city a vibrant place that has a constant theme of what we believe in is what would be, I would really love to see.
And speaking of Katie, after the commission meeting today, we invite you to meet us in the Civic Center concourse near the trees downstairs at City Hall to meet Katie and the ICA San Diego team and learn more about the pom-pom project installation that's currently on view there. I know many of you made pom-poms, as I did at some of the public meetings. So just to give you an idea of our industry and sector discussion group, here and on the next slide is a 30-second video. Lots of tiny print. But you know, these sessions included invited stakeholders, but they were also open to the public. And community members definitely showed up to participate in many of these. Next slide, please. That one? Yeah, okay. So this is just the second slide detailing the discussion. We can go on. Here's a photo of the Black Arts and Culture District discussion group from last July. Tahan Blevins, Carolyn Smith, and Brian Matthews also gave us a tour of the district in the fall. I exchanged emails with Tahan yesterday and said there's been significant damage. Just wanted to pass that on. Next slide, please. Here are the 6 San Diego artists who did engagement and creative activities as part of the process. There will be more information about this work on the Creative City website, but this is an example. Next slide. Diana Cervera and Josemar Gonzalez are multidisciplinary transporter artists, community organizers whose work includes community engagement. For Creative City, they facilitated workshops with young immigrants in City Heights, focusing on their individual stories through poetry and storytelling. Josemar then did photographic portraits of them using AI techniques. And these images, as you see on the slide, are now part of the city's public art collection. Next slide, please. Here's a list of the public events, the citywide forums and pop-ups in the 9 city council districts, which were co-hosted by city council members. Next slide. Thank you again, commissioners, for the DIY community conversations you led using our toolkit. This photo is Commissioner Leanne Kim's Ajuma EXP group, an Asian American group she describes as a local flash mob dance and community. Sounds perfect. Next slide, please. So through these many events and discussion groups, we explored these basic questions. What do you like about arts and culture in San Diego? What have you seen elsewhere that you'd like to see here? What priorities should the plan focus on? And what is your ultimate vision for arts and culture in the future of San Diego? Naturally, the sector discussion group had questions that were more specifically tailored to the relevant topics. So let's shift now from process to what we heard and learned throughout this extensive process. Next slide. Here are some relevant background facts about San Diego from the background. And its arts and culture. These help set the context for planning. San Diego sees itself as a city of innovation, both in the arts and in other fields. So we see creativity as part of our basic character. San Diegans personally participate a great deal in creative activities. They attend the arts in large numbers. in theaters and museums, but also in bars, coffee shops, libraries, parks, community centers. More than 3/4 of survey respondents have attended an art event in the past 6 months. The great majority have a personal creative practice like reading novels, cooking creatively, drawing, painting, or playing music instruments. The recent update of San Diego's Creative Economy Report shows once again that this sector is very large and growing. Just harkening back to Randy's presentation, we do a distinction between the arts and economic prosperity, so the nonprofit arts, and the entire creative economy, the much larger economic sector that includes design, media, commercial arts, etc. So when we look at San Diego's entire creative economy, total economic impact in 2022 was $10.8 billion. So again, a little tricky to draw comparisons with other industries, but this puts us somewhere within striking distance: tourism, military, and higher education. This represents almost 25% growth over the past 4 years. And total employment, full-time jobs in the creative economy were 170,000. So as Randy has emphasized repeatedly, arts and culture and the creative economy are a major economic growth. Still and yet, as Jonathan has reminded you, the creative economy is under-recognized and often not included in economic development. San Diego's nonprofits, arts and cultural organizations are a subset of the creative economy, and our relationship with tourism is well established. As Randy showed, 15% of all attendees are visitors who travel from outside San Diego County specifically for an art and cultural event. Another surprising fact is that the city owns 60 cultural facilities. This is among the highest number of any U.S. city. It incorporates Balboa Park, but also many buildings outside the park, like Civic Auditorium, Balboa and Lyceum Theater, park and library facilities, and many historical, heritage, and community buildings. And lastly, demographics. Our demographics are changing, and they're a very important context for Creative City. In the coming 25 years, we will become more diverse and older, and to put a few details to that, the Hispanic population will become fully 1/3 of all San Diegans. Asian Americans will become 1/4. People aged 65 and older will increase to nearly 1/4 of our population. The percentage of children and young people under age 18 will decrease, but there will still be some communities that continue to have higher concentrations of school-aged children with implications for our system. And 1/4 of San Diegans now are fluent Spanish speakers, and 1/4 are foreign born. Next slide, please. So, moving from the background research now, here are 5 emerging directions or themes that in what we've heard and learned over the past month. Let's take a look at each one. First, our creative identity. Next slide, please. Our creative identity in San Diego was a frequent subject of discussion, even when we didn't ask the question. So what distinguishes our creative and cultural identity? What do we do well? What do we want to be known for? So first, there's a shared aspiration to become a global center for artistic and creative innovation. It's not that people think we've arrived there yet, but there's a desire to set this intention and invest towards it. Part of this is to celebrate and support our cultural diversity. We're not one thing, and the city encompasses a range of authentic cultural communities and creative experiences. People want to rebrand San Diego's tourism marketing accordingly. Tourism professionals told us they want to bolster and promote authentic and hyper-local culture throughout the city. This includes creating an arts-rich environment, that is, arts as a part of daily life and neighborhoods throughout the city, and with the Terra Memoria project we just looked at in the public art presentation. These are arts experiences readily available to both residents and visitors without buying a ticket. We've focused up to now on cultural tourism, which means selling our destination primarily on the basis of mainstream arts events and venues. We'd like to expand this to creative tourism, which means attracting the visitor participatory, and authentic set of creative experiences. We engaged in a number of ways with the trans-border arts community, and many see great potential here. They want Creative City to help remove barriers, greater trans-border artistic collaboration, and promoting this unique aspect of our culture. We have an opportunity to build on World Design Capital 2024 with its mega region focus and vision. Here's a clip from a Kumeyaay artist, Johnny Bear Contreras, a little long, but well worth it.
We created an annual event, Indigenous Day, which used to be Columbus Day. We have that Indigenous Day on that same time. That's reaching, some may say, well, that's reaching out of the hemisphere of your reservation influence. And I would say that where the safari park is, that's the indigenous ancestral land of the Kumeyaay, specifically our band. That's where our stories stem from. That's where our bones are literally still buried underneath that surface. So challenges, there again, and you'll probably hear me say this throughout this video, that I've been fortunate to be able to sit and talk with individuals that have been able to bring things to the table that can address the challenges. And the challenge being recognition as a people, as a culture, as an ancient culture that is still here today, contemporary, that we don't just live in between the pages of history and history's annuals, that we're active, thriving, contemporary people that should be met with that same set of values and conditions at the very onset when you deal with individuals from the reservation. So the challenge.
Next slide, please. So our second theme is centering artists, focusing on meeting the needs of artists is essential to what we're talking about throughout Creative City. We heard a call for expanded city leadership in the arts, so certainly the Department of Art and Cultural Affairs, but also collaboration with art, libraries, economic development, etc., to open up new opportunities. The Department of Cultural Affairs has already been doing this, and other departments are interested in expanding this practice, but need additional resources to engage. Leadership here also means forging a new, more collaborative relationship among the city, artists, and organizations. Artists and creatives want the city to help build markets for their work, expanding the work of the department to focus more on individual artists, also promote markets for the visual arts, film, music, events, and other fields. The creative sector also seeks greater connectivity with one another. This means simple networking, but also convening with a purpose, such as to address changing business models for nonprofit arts organizations. Other ideas are to develop ways to share space and resources, to expand workforce development for jobs in the arts and the larger sector. We heard consistent messages about barriers, especially affordable space and funding, and we'll talk more about these specifically in a minute. The city is blessed with 6 arts and cultural districts, including 2 that are recognized by the state of California. So there's a clear opportunity to promote connections and coordination among these districts. Next slide. Our third theme is creative entrepreneurship. This is about enabling entrepreneurship in the arts and the larger creative economy. Some ideas include using creative enterprise zones and incentives to facilitate creative development projects, and creating artist residencies within city departments and in creative businesses, and rethinking regulations, permitting, and incentives, building a culture of yes, city culture of yes for arts and culture. Underlying much of this is elevating the creative economy as part of economic development in the city, and including the Department of Cultural Affairs as a lead partner in plans and projects. Next slide, please. Our fourth theme is arts and community. We said that Creative City engaged thoroughly with residents throughout San Diego. We heard consistent messages that Everyone wants the arts, but that some places have less. This includes under-recognized communities like Southeast, Barrio, and San Isidro that have long struggled for recognition and cultural history. We also heard that some more suburban areas are arts deserts, lacking arts assets like Linda Vista, Mira Mesa, Claremont, Kearny Mesa. Access to arts and culture is seen as a marker of respect for the community. So what do people want to see? Generally expanded opportunities for arts learning and participation at all ages. So children, youth, adults, seniors, more classes, more public art, clubs, venues for the arts. These can be small scale in places like libraries, parks, community centers, and in private venues like studios, bars, and coffee shops. So along with wanting more is wanting greater equity, removing barriers of access, affordability, and relevance. There are opportunities to create more cross-cultural interaction on a community level. We all know the arts are a great meeting ground and bridge builder. The 6 cultural districts are particularly strong resources. We also all understand that arts and creativity are a powerful tool in social services. San Diego has many organizations that use the arts as part of their services for the homeless, veterans, youth development, and seniors, just to name a few. Supporting this use of creativity was a theme of the engagement. Here's a sample voice for this from San Isidro. Next slide, please.
I feel like the youth deserve education. They deserve to be exposed to different incredible services like, say, theater production, organizing, understanding how to run your own events. And I feel like it's something that's essential for San Isidro and, you know, the families that live there to grow, to be empowered and to be resilient.
Next slide, please. So our fifth and last theme is resources. So first and foremost is funding. This clearly means a significant increase in total funding, but also greater diversity of funding sources, not just relying on the TOT, which has been volatile over the years. Also greater equity in grant making, building on the work the department and the commission have already done, and potentially expanding eligibility to individual artists and other applicants who are not nonprofit. As we mentioned, the main barrier we heard about was affordable space. Artists, art organizations, creative businesses, everybody named the cost of housing. They talked about space for performance, studio, exhibition, rehearsal, office, production, storage, and on. Finding affordable space was not only the #1 issue, but it underlies most of the other issues. There's also no directory of available spaces, and there are a few programs now to subsidize the cost of space. Individuals and organizations are often not in a position to address affordability. People look to the city for leadership on this issue, just as they have been doing on affordable housing more generally. They also call on the city to help by removing barriers to facility and space projects and actively facilitating their success. Also by considering new uses of the many city-owned facilities. Next slide. So that's our walkthrough of the themes of what we heard from engagement and research. So a natural question now is, what do we make of this? Here's a list of preliminary implications, meaning things Creative City must address. These will be part of the plan. This list is not exhaustive, it's a starting point for the plan itself. Priority from the beginning, but also throughout the planning process, is to build greater equity, to be an overarching theme throughout the whole discussion. Second is addressing the affordable space issue. This is a large topic. It's one that's accumulated over decades, so it's going to require a comprehensive, sustained approach to make progress. And as we said, implementing this plan will require significant investment in artists, nonprofit artists, and the larger creative sector. All are parts of the creative ecosystem, and resources are needed in different ways, but across the board. The community wants San Diego to grow into itself as a global center for artistry and innovation. We'll need to propose ways to accomplish that. We talk about acknowledging the size and goal of San Diego's creative economy, incorporating it in economic development planning, policy, and initiatives. So I We also talked about art and community and investing in everyday cultural vitality. Expanding community access, especially in places that now have less or in communities of concern. As we begin this year of World Design Capital, we have a new spotlight on our transborder arts and culture and many opportunities to further distinguish this part of our region. And lastly, a clear implication of all of the above is the need to expand the capacities of the Department of Art and Culture, the city's Department of Cultural Affairs. We get that name down. The city's Department of Cultural Affairs needs to expand its capacity to engage in this larger vision, more funding and more staff. Next slide. So that ends our presentation. Let's just take a quick look. You could advance 2 slides actually. So, at our next steps. I think we went the wrong direction. One more. So we're now beginning development of the cultural plan, as I mentioned. We'll have a preliminary outline in March for internal staff review, and then develop it into a full draft of the cultural plan with graphic design by the end of July. We will invite the public to review and comment on the draft plan in August and September. We'll return to you. And we will be asking, did we get it right? Does this look like the creative future you want for yourself and for San Diego? Time will then go through a process of revisions in the fall and be ready for City Council review and approval by the end of 2024 or January 25. And as I said, this places the plan squarely in line with the 2025 budget cycle. So thank you for your patient listening to this long presentation. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I just have a really brief comment. It doesn't even require a response. But you alluded to in several of these slides, the other organizations or city or county functions that also provide arts and culture, such as libraries and park and recreation. And I don't know if that's part of the plan or if that's something that's a separate conversation, but we need to be looking at collaboration, collaborative services, leveraging resources so that it's not all cultural plan and Arts and Culture Commission and the Parks and Rec is doing something else, and then the libraries are doing something else. But I don't know if that'll be part of the plan. You don't have to answer, but that would just be, I would like to see something that talks about the intersection in all of those activities.
Well, I know you said it doesn't require an answer, but Commissioner, I'd love to. We agree with you. In fact, Jonathan and Christine had us meet with the heads of almost all of the departments last January. That was step one. And we were delighted to have the Parks Director, Director of Economic Development, Library Director, to a person. They all said, yes, we want to collaborate with cultural affairs. We need resources to do it, but we want to see that happen, we believe. So we think that connective tissue is an important part.
Yes, Mr. Austin, please.
David, thank you for everything. And the sheer, I don't know, if you're going to get the numbers back, I'm trying to think about the number of hours from all of the team, every participant. We talk about English, talk about transparency. I am so thrilled when I actually saw in January 2025 date. This is something that so many of us have been talking about. And we know sometimes things move a little slow, but seeing the end in sight and seeing how much work, this is going to inspire the people that are uninspired. And this is going to gather more people to support and realize what our creative system does. I'm just, as an artist, as a practitioner, I'm thrilled with all of them. It's actually pretty reality, very, very soon. Thank you.
We do the same way.
Please, Commissioner Robinson.
I'd also like to say the same. Thank you so much, David. Very thorough project that we're embarking on. Like you said, this is once we do this is like where the work really begins. This is really getting the thing going. So one of the biggest things that I see in our city that we need is mapping, knowing what's out there, knowing what's available. You stated that we have 60 trivia spaces owned by the city. We want to see what that looks like. And also that we have 6 art districts. Wow. I'd like to know what those 6 art districts are. Arts and culture. And really being able to utilize what we have, just like what, it's just really important for us to collaborate and know what's available. A lot of times we're talking about not having enough money, but sometimes it's just that we're not using the money properly in the sense of the ability to collaborate and the ability to utilize spaces that could be available to some of the smaller organizations. So we would like to see what that looks like as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to harken back to Commissioner Martin's question earlier. You know, cities have been experimenting with how to be more equitable with limited pool of grant dollars. You know, one obvious way is you cap the awards to the larger organizations. I know there have been some conversations about that. This is a hard conversation, and it's either happening or not happening in cities around the country, and it needs to happen. We saw a recent study that's on the California Arts Council website. 1% of the organizations in California get the lion's share of all arts revenues, all arts money. They just finished documenting, publicizing it. Similarly, we just finished similar accounting in the Portland region, Portland, Oregon. And again, a small number, 79 out of maybe 800, so about 10% get 55% of the dollars. And, you know, it's not unusual. This is the pattern around the country. So as I said, I think this is a conversation that's right. It needs to happen. But I would say as a cultural planner, the best way to approach this is increase the pie before we start slicing them in. And we know from both the parks plan and the libraries master plan, and soon we're going to have a study about capital needs in Balboa Park. There's some big numbers getting put out in the public about what the community wants to see happen, what's going to be required to, you know, fulfill ourselves as the great city that we're possible. And I think that we all want. So I think our conversation about equity and arts funding and about the fiscal needs of this plan are going to be happening in a larger context. I just wanted to put that out there. This plan will certainly call for more resources and propose ways to pay for it. But it's a part of the bigger picture of what we want San Diego to be.
Thank you for talking about that, David. Specifically the investment that's going to be required from the city, both from the city government, but also from the citizenry. If you could wave a magic wand, and we waited and we do everything that the plan that you've outlined already, or we even put pen and paper and say, these are the specifics. But if you were able to say, okay, we're going to do all of this, the money will be found. Is there a sense of what the economic return could be? I know what the emotional, metaphysical, and social return can be, but on a dollar basis, if we make this kind of investment, how big a return can we get?
We just happen to have an extra.
This could be a good slide. Go to page 28. The Arts and Economic Prosperity report, San Diego. And you'll find the Arts and Economic Prosperity sits in San Diego calculator. And it's a way for any individual organization or a group of organizations, or even a projection. You put in an expenditure figure and an attendance figure, and you'll be able to estimate what the economic impact of that is.
So if we're looking at saying we're going from 15 million to 35 million or something like that, those are the kinds of ways.
For the record, that's really sexy.
Usually, another answer to your question is not exactly found in Arts and Economic Prosperity 6, but in the past, there have been calculations that the return on a city dollar invested in the arts is 3 to 1, 5 to 1, 7 to 1. It depends on the community, but it's very clear that every dollar that the city allocates to grants, through the commission, comes back with a multiplier to the city in terms of not economic impact, but tax revenues to the city. Well, I just want to make sure we're not talking about total economic impact. The city spends $1 on the arts, and the arts create, $3, $5, or $7 in additional city revenues.
Any other comments? No questions? Okay, thank you so much, David. We really appreciate all you're doing.
My pleasure. Thank you.
With that, I'm going to turn it over to the Director Gluss for any comments or director's report.
Great, thank you, Chair Bosler. I am going to hold my director's report because we are at 3:35. I want to thank Randy Cohen for being here from Americans Today there both yesterday and today for a series of conversation and presentations. If you were not able to join us yesterday at San Diego Museum of Art at MOPA, we had a very robust presentation, really full, lots of folks from throughout the county. It was really quite a celebration of partnership with the municipalities here in San Diego County. And then last night, thank you for those of you who were able to attend the reception with Bella. That was a further dive into the way that public policy can actually, public policy and arts funding through partnership. And then finally, today, David Cotton, Saunders, and PPG, thank you so much for the presentation. David is being a little cautious. Staff is absolutely expedite this at this time as much as possible. And we really expect that to share all the work part of CPG. And finally, please don't forget that we have a quick opportunity to spend some time with David Ruiz down on the plaza to get, if you didn't make pom-poms during the Creative City, you can at least look at them at the installation here a little bit appreciated. So please join us in the plaza afterwards.
One other quick thing, I know that earlier question came up about the need for economic relief from the city in terms of its library. Could you share some updates on that, please?
Yeah, happy to do so. Thank you for that, Anne. Over the last few days, we have heard considerable information from our colleagues in the cultural community about facility impact due to the recent storm. I have sent to all of the commissioners a opportunity for grant program that the city just stood up. These are small allocations, but nonetheless, they are something. So please share those with your colleagues. These are funding is specific to Promised and communities of concern. As you know, that actually covers quite a bit of the city. Secondly, if you are in conversation with friends and colleagues in the cultural community and they're mentioning impact from the floods, directly to the city website. There are other resources there.
And the county has information on their website as well. I will say, because there was such an impact in the south side of the city and southwest side of the city, right now, the city is focusing on basics, and by basics, I mean streets, alleys, clearing out parks, clearing out streams, that kind of thing to get the water out. So they are prioritizing, which means facilities won't make it to the top of the list until those basics of streets, corridors, parks, et cetera, but nonetheless, it's not on the city's list. Finally, for facilities that are in parks, you can also reach out to the Parks Department directly.
Yes, I just had a quick addition to that I got from the Union Tribune two of the GoFundMe links, one for the K Street Creative Studios and San Diego Main Factory, which is one of the public callers earlier. So I'm sure that with Commissioner Polino, and I'm happy to share that with anyone else who's interested in those GoFundMe for those two.
Great, thank you. Finally, I want to pause for just a minute of your time. You all hear us saying way too often that we're a small team, but the fact is we are. So when we host or co-host produce events like yesterday, that does fall on the shoulders of someone, and more often than not, it is Bell Reza. I'm going to say that I always state that with programs in the highest best way.
Oh.
And just one last item for the commission before we adjourn is new business for future agendas. Anybody have anything like that to add in future agendas? Yes, Commissioner.
Something we can share, Butler. As I listened to the AEP6 report, David's updates on the Creative Cities Plan, I would love to have some future discussion either at the committee level or full commission around how we can marry storytelling to the data pieces that are kind of coming across now, and specifically with an eye on building some capacity and infrastructure on smaller arts organizations to personalize that data in ways that advance their work in addition to begin to address small work. Also be a great way to decorate the runway leading up to Creative Cities and the full release of that plan. So that's all.
All right, with that, thank you so much for everybody's time. We will adjourn to the meeting of the Arts Commission. Thank you. I have an announcement after we adjourn. There's